We here are testimony tonight that the raid 75 years ago, on November the 14th, may have destroyed much of our city, but it did not destroy our spirit. What came from the horror of that night represents the community's resolve and strength in unity, and a calling from Coventry for peace and reconciliation.
The siren has given a warbling note. It's gone up and down and up and down and up and down. And that'll be sounded for 2 minutes. And that warbling note tells you there are raiders overhead.
Well, it's nice to see so many of you here today, particularly with the weather. I belong to the Women's Research Group. It's amazing that it's the 14th of November today. 75 years ago, it was the Coventry Blitz, but then that started on the Thursday. I mean, we should all remember these people who were killed and were badly injured. On that date, 863 people were seriously injured and 568 were killed, and 393 people were injured. And then again, on Tuesday, the 8th of April 1941, the bombers came again, and 281 were killed, and then on Thursday, the 10th of April, 170 were killed.
So, the idea of this installation, it's called the Coventry Peace Tree, and I originally wanted to place a real tree, ideally a Wijgerden pippin, which is a locally sourced apple tree, into Fargo Village Main Hall for the duration of Coventry Peace Festival 2015. And I changed my mind chiefly because it turned out that you can't place a tree at this time of year into a sterile landed environment, if you will. So basically it would have sat in the main hall for 2 weeks and died off. It needed to be planted. And I also thought, well, to put a tree there and then invite people to hang messages and tags of their definitions of peace onto that tree would actually be quite reductive and redundant, if you like. And I thought it's much better to produce an actual artistic work, because that is something that would compel, I think, stronger reactions, but also make people think a little more.
The Land Army was made up of 3 divisions: the Forestry, the Timber Corps and the Ordinary Land Army. But I'm going to just talk to you probably about 2.5 women. I interviewed 4 of them. One of them was in the Forestry Commission, and she said in 1941 she did her training in the Forest of Dean, and she was taught all about trees and saplings and digging trees out and ditching and all that, and then she was transferred to Lincolnshire.
The difficulty here is to try and coordinate the pieces of wood into sufficient branches such that it will appear at least tree-like. For me, the idea of using the scorched wood is basically that I wanted to evoke the idea of something destroyed and ruined. Post-Blitz, post-atomic bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. also to leave positive aspects contained therein.
Welcome everyone, my name is Warden Thompson and I am going to take you through some training today.
So I was also thinking about that in context of the fragility and sense of protection, which things like nuclear deterrent, mutually assured destruction give us, things like Trident. And I think one of the important aspects of that when it comes to nuclear wars, original advice back in the 50s was things like duck and jump down under your desk, and that will save you.
So the blackout is to stop the enemy from seeing us in our cities with our lights on. Yeah. So we've got to hide all our lights.
Women had to adapt meagre rations to try and make decent meals. There were no takeaways then or meals out of Marks and Spencer's. And there was a talk about make, do and mend and clothes. My mum made me a silver grey, I can see it now, I've still got it, a silver grey pinafore dress out of my dad's trousers. And the blouse was made out of back of my dad's shirt. Yeah. But I thought I looked lovely.
The rising bits of wood and feathers. The idea behind that was to echo some aspirational sense of the regeneration of the city that's gone on several times and is ongoing. And also, the three spires that are commonly used to represent Coventry. So, yeah, the idea was to evoke some of that ruin and erosion, but also regeneration from the back of that. And then the chair is obviously simply a side comment to talk about civilian casualties.
This couple who she was with hadn't got any children. Aunt Till and Uncle Jim, she called them, and she absolutely idolised them. And she said that she loved the village school and everything about the village. One day at school, she said that the headmaster gave her a box of chocolates and she thought it was because she'd been good. So she couldn't wait to skip through the village to get home to tell Auntie Till. And an older girl stopped her and she said, "You know why I've got that box of chocolates?" She said, "It's because I've been good." She said, "No, it isn't. Your mummy and daddy and two sisters have been killed in a shelter at Birmingham."
When I went to Hiroshima in May, there's a tree there called the Wijgerden tree. And it's become somewhat of a spiritual pilgrimage for Hibakusha, their A-bomb survivors, to visit, because nothing should have grown in Hiroshima, they said, for hundreds of years, but that tree blossomed like the oleander very shortly after the bomb. So they thought if the tree could repair itself, then maybe they could as well. In winter, she returns to the Blitz through bonfires of breath and thinks of letterboxes breathing their last, those handwritten pages curled to orange flowers. In winter, she is 5 years old again, watching thread veins write letters to a dad who never spoke of what he found at number 26 when he cradled slate from a crib. In winter, she sits alone on her ottoman, spraying her husband through Istanbul musk and raising a glass of sherry to how he looked at 20 before the gnaw of a nurse's pumice ate the sensual woman. In winter, her grandchild drowned in an apple, and when she surfaced, they walked to St. Michael's to make a cathedral with both of their fingers joined. In winter, she lost her hands in the fire looking for her gollywog. In spring, she left instructions to be cremated, and when she danced in that new grey dress, her granddaughter read a poem from her apple, and the orange flowers of Stoke Park opened like handwritten pages.
This, of course, is the place to gather for this occasion, and so amazing to have those of you who are in the party here who lived through that terrible night in Coventry. heard so many people tell me the story of that since I've been here for the last 3 years as Dean. And of course now I get the opportunity to tell that story, that exact story, all over the world, as far away as New Zealand in February this year, where I was able to share with some new Maori friends how we ourselves had known destruction of buildings and relationships, but how we've actually been able to move forward